Sorry, one sec. Let me fix this. Uh, ah. Nope, wrong one still. There we go. And I'm also tiny. Okay, gotta make myself a little bigger. Damn, bro, these late streams. Yeah, I'm sorry. I haven't been sleeping well, and I'm not like taking care of my health very well. So I finally have some energy to do something, and I would like to do something and not feel like shit. I'd like to do something and not feel like shit. So I feel kind of okay, and I thought I would do somewhat of a stream today. You know, because I feel like I haven't had the time to do some deep analysis, and I kind of wanted to. Plus, I kind of feel pretty decent right now, so I think now's as good a time as any. So let me read some of the comments. So let's see. Where is Mini Chizuru? There's no Mini Chizuru in this chapter, so no Mini Chizuru. Okay. Light with no darkness. What does that mean? Okay, how do we start this chapter? Every light is off. The moon is out. The moon is illuminating this scene, and yet it looks shadowed. It's like the moon is invisible. So, when all someone has ever known is darkness, can they see the moon? Right? It seems like I'm talking more like who's read Allegory of the Cave? Who here has read Allegory of the Cave? So Allegory of the Cave basically goes like this. When there's these people who have been shackled inside of a cave. And they hear voices and they hear how people talk and stuff, and they see shadows moving. They can't turn their heads, so they can't see each other. All they can see is the shadows in front of them. Those shadows are what they think are people. Then someone comes in and frees one of them, and he takes him outside and he sees the world. And it's a shock to his entire system because everything he has ever known is incorrect. And then there is this conflict presented to this person. Do you free the other people who have only ever known shadows? Or do you leave them in there? Most people would say yes, but then when you look at it from that person's perspective, they think that they are all they know. It shattered their entire worldview. What if those people on the inside, it'll hurt them too much? Now, this isn't so much about the dilemma, but basically what I'm trying to highlight is Mami is basically this character who has only ever known shadows. Her entire existence, think of it like this: she literally has no light of hope. That is Mami's character. She has literally no light of hope. All she has ever known is darkness. So, what do you see in the chapter? When Mami is with Kazuya, there is light outside the car, but inside the car, it is just darkness. Kazuya illuminates Mami, right? So look at how Mami is shadowed and there's a light over her, but she's kind of invisible. Most of the chapter is literally spent in shadows. Most of it is you don't know what either character feels. They're literally both in these deep shadows of secrets, and they're kind of invisible. Mami here is illuminated in light in this one sequence, but then immediately sinks into shadows. 2 seconds later, she's illuminated by Kazuya. But these are lights that they are, how do I explain? They're not in control of these lights, right? It's literally a darkness that does not know how to kind of harness light, right? And then Kazuya illuminates Mami with a sort of painful light, right? She is illuminated with a sort of painful light. Why does this matter? Well, think of it like this. Light needs shadow, and shadow needs light. This seems kind of contradictory, maybe they can exist on their own. Technically, yes. Technically, light and shadow can exist on their own. But, and I get it, this seems like a little fucking weird, but I think this is what this chapter is talking about. When a light does not have a shadow, is it a light? If a light does not cast a shadow, is it even a light? It's almost like the shadow a light casts validates its existence. If something is just a white space, and there's literally no shadow at all, is that even light? In that same way, if something is purely darkness, and it has no light at all, is that really kind of darkness? Why is this all relevant? Reiji's talking about yin and yang. Remember the entire motif of yin and yang in the entire like date and this entire theme of balance and striking a balance? Well, Mami is essentially Chizuru's darkness, and Chizuru is Mami's light. Chizuru is essentially what do we see when we go to Chizuru in the very end of the chapter? She is in her home that is all lit up with literally no shadows. It is literally an empty light. Mami is in a car of darkness with no light. Mami is trapped in a car of darkness with no light. Literally a metaphor for her fucking life. And then Chizuru is in an empty house of light. The house literally has no shadows to validate its existence. Even Chizuru in this scene, you can barely see her shadow. Chizuru is the sole shadow in this home of light. So, do you see how basically they're missing core parts of who they are? Mami has no light in her in the house that she is trapped in the family that she is trapped in. All she has ever known is darkness. So she doesn't know how to get out of the way that she's acting. That's, I think, the biggest thing. Is like last chapter, I was incredibly critical of Mami, and I was like kind of angry and stuff. But I think there's a second nuance to this. Everything I said in the last chapter is correct. The problem is, Mami has no idea how to change. Literally, her environment shaped her into who she is. Mami has no clue how to fucking change. She doesn't know. And this is something you can see with like Kibe and Kazuya and Ruka and even Sumi and Minnie. Characters who don't know how to change because this is all they've ever known. And I think that's kind of the conflict of these characters. So I think what Reiji is kind of trying to maybe set up is have Mami be the darkness that Chizuru must accept in order to accept herself. Because if Chizuru can forgive Mami and recognize that her and Chizuru aren't so different, because if Chizuru had been in the same circumstances as Mami, she might have been a pretty similar person. Basically, those two characters are two sides of the same coin. I vividly remember Jaws wrote like a whole thing about this. It was either Jaws or Nintendo wrote a whole thing about this on Reddit, where these characters are literally just two sides of the same coin. Chizuru is the light to Mami's darkness, and vice versa, right? Mami is the darkness to Chizuru's light. Chizuru, remember what Chizuru said at the very end of her rejection. She literally said, I can't bring myself to forgive Mami. Mami is kind of like Chizuru's mom. Here, I wrote a thing for it. Let me read you what I wrote. Okay. So in this chapter, Mami is placed in an identical position as Chizuru when Chizuru and Kazuya were cleaning the house. And Chizuru fell underneath Kazuya. Okay? But she's doing what Ruka did emotionally. So she looks like Chizuru, but she mirrors Ruka in the control of the scene. Every character is kind of like a different kind of reflection in some ways. So Mami is kind of like the dark reflection of Chizuru. It's a classic literature thing where Mami is literally the dark reflection. Okay. She's literally mirroring what happened with Chizuru when Chizuru is away. In some ways, you can interpret this as Chizuru because of Chizuru's own actions, it has resulted in Mami getting closer to Kazuya. This is in some ways an unequivocal truth. Like, it's true. It's Chizuru not being around, cleaning the house on her own instead of cleaning it with Kazuya resulted in this. However, the reason Chizuru is even in this position is a layered, complicated thing that is in part Kazuya's fault. So it's a more of a foundational issue rather than it's Chizuru's fault or it's Kazuya's fault. You see how it's kind of like a complicated, layered issue where tossing fault in some ways kind of misses the point. Now, what Mami's going through right now is identical to Ruka. Few people seem to realize that the whole Ruka conflict that happens in chapter 405 and 6, and basically 402 through 406, is Ruka wanting to change and she doesn't know how. Ruka wants some sort of change and she doesn't know how. You also notice something very interesting. Look at this. Look at this when Kazuya imagines having sex with Chizuru. Now look at this. It's fucking identical. It's literally identical. Now, you'll notice another interesting panel. Someone else caught this. Hey, what do you think? Look at this panel very carefully. Hey, what do you think? It's as if she's literally the dick is being asked. Remember what Kazuya tells Ruka? No, it has a mind of its own. Right? It has a mind of its own. So it's literally as if, ayo, genitals, what do you think? It's literally like the body is being asked. What do you think? As a contrast to how Kazuya is literally, what is Kazuya trying to do? He's trying to ignore his body. Right? Kazuya is literally trying to ignore his body. This is interesting because I recently just found out, like literally earlier today, that Unmun, the teaser for next time, is steam buns. We said this was steam buns. So, what's interesting about this? Well, we found out that steamed buns are not sold hot in summer. They're a winter food. You can still get them, but you can get them frozen. Why is this weird? Well, Mute wrote a whole thing about it where he said it might be like a play on words where it actually might be related to Mami and her buns. Get it? Steamed buns. So I personally think it's a double meaning because almost everything has been somewhat of a double meaning. Last chapter, the chapter before this one, chapter 415, is about a simulation. On one hand, it's a literal simulation Kazuya and Mami are doing. On the other hand, there's a deeper meaning where every character in last chapter lives in their own simulation, trapped in their own perceptions of the world, literally in their own literal simulation of how they perceive and understand the world. This chapter is literally a dual, it's called Close It. Why? It's a mirror to when Chizuru told Kazuya to close the door. What's interesting about this, when Chizuru did it, she was completely in light. When Mami did it, they're completely in darkness. They're literally the reverse of each other. The chapter starts, how does this chapter begin? It begins in complete shadow. Right? So this chapter begins in complete shadow. You're intentionally shown any form of lighting completely turned off. The only light, the moon, is invisible. You don't see the moon. There's just a light over here, right? Like a singular light over here, but you don't actually see the moon. Then you get to Chizuru, and what happens? You see the moon. Suddenly you see the moon. You have this contrast to the light and darkness. Finally, you have the proper yin and yang visual of this. In contrast, what do you have here that's contrasting that? Oh, look. Mami's car is completely in shadows and there's a light outside. Now there is a light in the sky and everything around it is shadows. But you get inside Chizuru's home and it's all lit up, but it's completely empty. It's like, what are you seeing? There's pieces missing. There's literally pieces of who you are missing. Right? The visuals are literally saying how something is missing. There's a piece missing. It's incomplete. And you have an intentional contrast between the light on the outside and the darkness on the inside, and then the light, the darkness on the outside and the single light in the sky, right? The counterbalancing forces, and how the specific circumstances in which Kazuya and Mami are present is all darkness, and the specific circumstances with Chizuru is that she's alone in this home and it's all lit up. Okay, so that is intentional to get into this contrast of these themes because it has a double meaning. So next chapter being steamed buns, but you get the buns frozen in this time is interesting. You have a contrast between cold and hot. So next chapter is going to be cold and hot. Why is this relevant? What's a tsundere? Tsun tsun dere dere. Cold, cold, hot, hot. So, what do most people perceive Chizuru as? A tsundere. Then you delve into a different aspect. Mami is kind of a tsundere in her own way, right? In the very beginning of the series, she was pretty cold. Yet now, she sure feels really hot. Get it? Darkness is oftentimes associated with coldness, right? Darkness is cold. Light is often associated with warmth. However, a light with no darkness can feel kind of stark, cold. Shadows with no light can feel kind of warm. Counterbalancing forces. So next chapter might be related to that balance of hot and cold, right? The chapter is called Steamed Buns, but you can't get steamed buns in summer that are actually hot. So next chapter is going to have some sort of double meaning too. At least that's what I've learned so far. Shit, what's going on with the lights? Okay, I look okay. No worries. Shit, I'm kind of getting hungry. Okay. Without a shadow, it feels like a character looks like they're floating in the page, symbolizing that they have no ground to stand on anymore. Kind of, yeah. So before I continue reading what I wrote, because I have a whole thing written for now, let's go and read maybe what Mute wrote. Oh yeah, the hero's journey. Come on, work with me here. Okay. Thoughts and impressions of episode 416. This theme is Mami and Kazuya's true feelings. Having previously believed Mami disliked him, can Kazuya still reject her even after learning her true feelings? But did he? That's the thing. Did he? Because Kazuya doesn't know what she feels. Because she doesn't know what she feels. Again, I wrote a thing for this. We'll get into it shortly. This episode focuses mainly on Kazuya's perspective, so analysis is limited. Oh, look. Hey, look at the time travel shit I was talking about. 1 through 11? Jesus Christ. Oh, is this going to be short? Or not? It's kind of not. Okay, never mind. Mami has always been cool-headed and calculating, maintaining control over Kazuya. This time, for the first time, Mami is revealing her confusion and true feelings to Kazuya. Cold? Hot. Okay. Kazuya senses he is being invited, while Mami herself does not understand why she is doing this. Correct. Well, she is... It's a yes and no. It's messy. She is seducing him, but she isn't. She is, but she isn't. It's kind of a defensive mechanism. It's so the issue with Mami is that it's deeply rooted in her backstory. If you remember in Mami's backstory, she literally said she liked being around a guy because it was thrilling and scary. It made her feel alive. Why? Because she is trapped in this empty darkness with no possible hope at all. So, being with Kazuya, she is in some ways seducing him because that's all she knows. Mami feels alive when she's with him, and then when she's not, she literally feels dead. So she's literally trying to, like, think of it like someone trying to revive themselves, right? Literally, life is associated with warmth, whereas coldness is associated with death. So Mami feeling alive around Kazuya associates directly with that. I could definitely see next chapter dealing with this idea of life and death because of that whole thing I was explaining earlier with, like, steamed buns versus frozen buns, right? If they're frozen, they're dead, and you got to heat them up. You got to warm them up, right? So that there's a parallel here for sure. I even wrote something about this, like, so it might not be entirely accurate. What the fuck did I just do? Huh. Cool. So the teaser for next time isn't red bean buns. It's steamed buns, very specifically. Chizuru has been shown to make red bean items for her family altar and grave. So this item could definitely be used for like a Buddhist altar or for the grave or something like that. Considering Chizuru just emptied her home, it's possible 417 is like a requiem. Did something happen to the face cam? No, I didn't charge it. Oh, I wasn't charging it like a fool. Oh, fuck. I didn't plug it in. Oh, well. So just bear with me as I charge my phone a little bit. Here, I'll just move this out of the way. Here, I'll just say right here, Facecam will be back shortly. Okay, so let's just continue for now. So I wrote that next chapter might be about a requiem for the dead. And I think this makes some sense because of this theme that I've been talking about, where this contrast between the dead and the living, you know? Like Kazuya and Mami, who have a dead relationship, suddenly it feels a lot more alive, doesn't it? Whereas Chizuru's home is now empty. This home that was filled with warmth and people and had all these things in it before now feels dead and empty, literally filled with nothing but ghosts. So I think next chapter is going to be that contrast between death and life and death. And we're going to probably delve into that. Anywho, how do I go back to normal? What do I do here? Oh my God. The Huh. Okay. This. Close right view. Okay, good. Cool. That was cool, actually. I've never done that before. That's cool. Okay. Kazuya had always believed Mommy disliked him, so he is too confused. He too is confused. Yet his body reacts involuntarily, making the readers think he really is a piece of work, isn't he? But and again, that's this belief is so sad. This belief is so sad because literally it's about accepting what your body feels instead of just denying it as, oh man, he's such a problem. The issue that Reiji is leveraging is that Kazuya is treating his body as a problem because the readers treat his body as a problem. That idea needs to go. Anyways, yeah, and that matches perfectly with my theme of accepting your inner darkness. I like Mizuhara, he declared, without being swayed by temptation, just like with Ruka, firmly conveying his strong feelings for Shizuru to both Mami and the readers. But here, Mami's expression doesn't look disappointed either, and it seems like she's resigned to it, since she's heard Kazuya's words in Hawaiians. Maybe it's too late now? No, I don't think so. Also, so 1 second. I think my phone is charged enough to restart now. So let me see if I can set it up. So I did want to share something kind of brief. I don't think this is a massive deal that I can share this. So the other day, Reiji streamed, and some stuff was shared. Nothing too crazy. But in particular, I talked to Reiji about the Ruka thing. So Reiji was actually very concerned about the Ruka thing. Okay? He was actually quite concerned about it. Because he knows what he's depicting. In fact, he straight up agreed with my take that what Ruka did was, in fact, unequivocally sexual assault, but also that this happened because of Kazuya's negligence. Yes, Reiji literally said this is the case. Now, he said he's a little worried about it because of what's currently going on in the manga industry. Or I don't know if you guys heard, basically, this person who was convicted of what is it, like sexually assaulting a minor, got like this manga app, or I forgot what it was, pretty much let them draw again under a different pen name without telling anyone it's him. Which was super fucked up. I'm like, they're like, oh, we're being considerate to the victims, which is literally the fucking opposite. So a whole bunch of artists, like Rumiko Takahashi, aka like the lady who fucking like designed romances as you know them. She's the one who did Inuyasha. I've talked about her before. She like literally removed all of her stuff from their catalog and went after them. And so one of the things Reiji is a little worried about is or less so Reiji. Reiji knows what he wants to write. He's less stressed about it, but his editorial is like a little concerned. They're like, oh no, what if this ends up bad or something like that? So it seems like Reiji actually really wants to explore this conflict, and the reason the editorial is worried is because depicting the minor as someone who did something wrong is a very like it's dangerous thing, because people will immediately want to defend the minor as having done absolutely nothing wrong, when there's a complicated situation where the minor can do something wrong. She wrote Maison Ikoku. Yes, she did. So yes, Reiji is not afraid of exploring this, but he knows that there are but his editorial, and he knows that there are people who are like very defensive about this. Okay, the camera's back up. Let me bring myself up again. There we go. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. For those who keep saying like Reiji is not taking the sexual assault thing seriously, he literally straight up said he is, and he's actually planning to explore it even more. He's planning to really delve into it even more. That's kind of what I took away from the way he was talking about it. So absolutely, this is something he's definitely going to be delving into more. And considering Mami and Kazuya also have a power dynamic, and their relationship is literally that of an abuser and a victim, where Kazuya is literally her victim, even though she's trying to change. He's still her victim. Is very intentional because it mirrors Ruka and Kazuya. So you can kind of understand why Reiji is a little apprehensive, but I think it's actually a very good discussion to have to introduce that nuance, because people are too afraid to get into the nuance. You know, people are way too afraid to get into the nuance of these kinds of situations. So again, for all those people who are saying Reiji does not perceive this as sexual assault, he literally said it was. He knows it is. He literally said it was, but he also said it's more nuanced, that Ruka is a minor, and there's a little bit of a more complicated issue where how Kazuya interacted with her ultimately led to this. How Kazuya handled Ruka ultimately led to this scenario. It is in part kind of his responsibility. And that's the complicated nuance. Mami is like this too. Mami is a mirror to Kazuya. Why? She too is a victim. Kazuya is literally a victim of Mami and of Ruka. And at the same time, Mami herself is a victim of her family, of literally domestic abuse. But she in victimizing herself, she became the abuser she hated, and she turned Kazuya into a victim. Right? She literally turned Kazuya into a victim. So Reiji's going to explore more in the Ruka sexual assault. He already is. It's already all there. It's literally constantly there. You're seeing how the guilt is eating away at Kazuya. Heck, you see how Minnie, literally, what does Minnie do? What does Minnie do? She does what the readers do. She blames Kazuya. It's victim blaming. He's literally depicting victim blaming in the story. Like, he straight up is. Because he knows exactly what's happening here. So it really shows Reiji has a lot of nuance and understanding of this situation. And the biggest thing is pretty much he said, think of it like a lighthouse. He saw a lighthouse before, but now he saw a brighter lighthouse, and he wants to go to that lighthouse. So that's pretty much it. Like, Reiji essentially has this new direction that he's trying to reach, that he thinks if he reaches it, it will be even better. So he initially had a vision, and he's like, oh, this could be better. So he's essentially trying to do like something even bigger. But yeah, I won't share too much information. That's basically the main thing I wanted to share, because everybody keeps saying Reiji's not treating this like sexual assault, and then here he is literally saying, no, it literally is. I was straight up concerned about it when depicting it. And I'm glad that other people, like other artists are like viewing it positively, because like other artists are literally saying, oh no, you have balls, dude. You're going with like a crazy direction. You got fucking balls, dude. And the biggest thing I want to share with you guys that I think highlights my point perfectly is that, how did Kazuya find his love? Who remembers how Kazuya found out he was in love with Chizuru? It's a very particular scene that is often made fun of, but it's so fucking important to his character. And I don't think people remember it. I think a lot of people forget this, and suddenly when you realize this is the case, you're just like, holy shit, it was there all along. So what have we been saying Kazuya's conflict is? Accepting his desire. Right? Accepting that he feels lust and that he's not a bad person for feeling lust. In contrast, you have the audience, again, like we just saw with Mute, putting him down for feeling the sexual desire in the first place. Right? You say you love Chizuru, but then right here it is right here. Like, he says, I love Chizuru. Translate, please. Thank you. I love Chizuru, he declared without succumbing to temptation as he had with Ruka, conveying his strong feelings for Chizuru to both Mami and the reader. Yet here, Mami's expression appears neither disappointed nor resigned. Having heard Kazuya's words in Hawaiian, perhaps it's too late. But again, they're kind of missing, the audience is kind of missing the fucking point. Okay. So, let's go to it. How did Kazuya find out his feelings? In chapter 16. What chapter are we on? We're on chapter 416. In chapter 16, how did Kazuya find out his feelings for Chizuru? He gets home, he tries to beat his meat, he thinks of mommy. And then Chizuru pops into his head. He's like, no. Keeps going, keeps thinking of Chizuru. She'd probably get really mad at me if I told her this was the moment I realized I liked her. He was masturbating. He beat his meat, and he found out he loved her. His lust is literally a part of his love. He would have never found out he loved Chizuru if he didn't beat his meat. So to deny this part of himself is to literally deny his love. If Kazuya denies his sexual desires, he denies his love for Chizuru. Because how the fuck did he find it? He found it by beating his goddamn meat. What is Kazuya doing right now? He's literally denying a core part of who he is. What is chapter 17? By the way, next chapter, 417. That's weird. Huh, this is oddly coincidental. What happens in chapter 417? Oh, look. Chizuru all wrapped up and perfect, and if he pulls it, he can see everything. Can he pull it? Is he allowed to pull the ribbons off the rental girlfriend? Right? The perfect rental girlfriend. He runs into Chizuru, and what happens? His heart beats like crazy when he's around her. Who does that mirror? Who does that mirror? That's right, Chizuru. Chizuru literally feels sexual desire for him. But in Kazuya denying his sexual desires, it makes Chizuru want to deny hers. So Chizuru is literally a light without a shadow. She's literally removing her shadow, aka her mom, the thing that she doesn't like about herself. AKA mommy. She can't forgive mommy because she is literally her sins. She is the bad part of herself that she hates for feeling this way. Almost as an exact mirror to him. He literally hates the fact that he feels sexual desire when it is the thing that made him fall in love in the first place. It's almost like this is about acceptance. Now, chapter 17, next chapter, 417, what's going on? Kazuya feels a lot of heat. Pretty fucking steamy. Where do they go? They go to a hot spring. Next chapter is called Steam Buns. Okay. Oh, look, who's there? Look at who he runs into. Now, I don't know if he'll run into Chizuru next chapter. That would be interesting. I don't know if he'll run into Chizuru next chapter. That would be interesting. I kind of doubt it because it wasn't this was orchestrated, remember? This was orchestrated by his grandma and Grandma Sayuri. They were both literally there, so they kind of orchestrated this. Grandma Sayuri's fucking dead. So I don't know if someone will orchestrate this and we'll end up in a similar scenario, but I do think it's incredibly interesting that Mizuharu's sake, I have to tell the grandmas that we broke up during this vacation, right? But now it's about personal desires. So whereas before, Kazuya had his feelings and lust and desire, and now he's trying to get rid of it, we could see something kind of like reversed. Maybe he hangs out with mommy, right? Maybe he hangs out with mommy. I don't know. Something like that. Or maybe someone spots him with mommy. Maybe Chizuru spots him with mommy. I don't know. Kind of hard to tell. Next chapter seems like it's going to be big. But again, do you see the parallels? Do you see the parallels? And the fact that in chapter 17, right? Chapter 17 is when Kazuya, feels his heart beat for Chizuru. It's almost like 17 is kind of like an important number, right? 7 being directly connected to mommy. right? Literally 16 is the last time he felt things for Mami. And then 17 is when he begins his love for Chizuru. When is he meeting with Chizuru? July 11th. Huh. That seems oddly fucking coincidental. So maybe next chapter would be about like exploring his feelings for Mami and what that means, and if it's sexual desire or something else. Again, there's this focus in this chapter. Again, like we said before, there's this focus in this chapter about literally asking Kazuya's fucking penis how it feels. Hey, yo! Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? Right? She asks the thing that helped him find if he was in love in the first place, if Mami herself is in love. It's as if they're asking their lust, hey, am I in love? Which is really fascinating. Right? They're asking their lust if they are in love. But that's exactly how Kazuya found his feelings in the first place. So it brings this fascinating question. Does lust define love? Or is lust and love something different? Or are they both two sides of the same coin? Right? Lust is a part of love. But to deny one is to deny the other. Right? When you see Ruka completely consumed by her lust, it destroys her love. When you see Kazuya completely consumed by his love, it destroys his lust. Right? So, yeah. As this is a very intentional callback to chapter 16, when Kazuya literally found his feelings in that way. So we could see next chapter, maybe asking your heart. You know, how does your heart feel? What does your heart tell you? Does your heart beat? What does your heart do? How does it react? Maybe that could help you find your answer. So next chapter could be about that question of like, how do you feel? What is the right thing to do? Stuff like that. Just give me a sec. I gotta check on my family that just came back from a trip. I'll be right back. Okay. So, unfortunately, I got about 30 more minutes. It's late. I'm trying to sleep better. I am trying to sleep better. So, I'm only streaming for 30 more minutes, and then I'm going to head to hang out with my mom a little bit, and then I'm going to head to bed. Because I've been sleeping like shit. I like to sleep good. I would like to actually fucking sleep. Okay? So, let's continue reading what Mute wrote. I'll stream again tomorrow. I'm gonna sleep well so that tomorrow I don't feel like shit and I can stream earlier, much earlier, like way earlier. Probably like, I don't know, like 2 or 1. We'll see. I'll try to stream significantly earlier tomorrow so you guys have me with like a much longer time. But today, I'm sorry, like this is a late stream already. You only got me for like an hour and 30 minutes. Anyways. I might maybe read what Varicus wrote. Someone wrote something on YouTube. Once I'm done with this, I'll read that. Many readers probably thought that Mami was annoyed when Kazuya brought Chizuru because her pride was hurt by the fact that the guy she dumped immediately made a woman, got a woman even cuter than her as a girlfriend. But in reality, it turns out that Mami actually liked Kazuya and was jealous of Chizuru. He's making a bit of assumptions here. That's not cool. That's how Mami interprets it. Right, that's how Mami interprets it, but there's another layer. So this is how Reiji wants you to interpret it. Anyways, Kazuya finally realizes from the words Chizuru said to Mami that Mami might actually like him. We'll see. We don't know. He could very well still be in denial. Mami's words are saying not yet. So rather than having toyed with Kazuya, it expresses that she genuinely liked him. She still did that. So, I'm sorry, let's not deny that she did that. She absolutely still toyed with him. Like, a lot. That she never came to dislike Kazuya, and that she always liked him, perhaps up until now. It also conveys a feeling of wanting to take him back from Chizuru precisely because Kazuya said he likes Chizuru. Okay. Meanwhile, Kazuya is traumatized by the blunt words of being dumped by Mami, even if the very person who dumped him is standing right in front of him and asks, "Do you still like me?" It would only confuse him. Though he declared, "I like Mizuhara," Kazuya feels the pressure of whether he can firmly reject the temptation from his ex-girlfriend. Okay. Mami, who was once cunning, is now showing Kazuya a maiden-like expression that she never showed him before. This change is also a source of terror for Kazuya. However, sensing the loneliness and confusion emanating from Mami, Kazuya feels that he can't just leave her be like this, and he can't run away. Oh, look! It's Ruka all over again! It is Ruka. Oh my god, I'm so dark. Let me turn on the lights. I'm so dark. Are you sure about that? Yes. I have to start being sure, good sir. Okay. However, sensing... Okay, so it's the same kindness that Kazuya showed Ruka, isn't it? Oh, there it is. Except kindness can be hopeless. Chizuru originally intended to sell her family home. Economically speaking, it might be more advantageous to live in the family home and pay the fixed asset tax rather than renting a new place. However, if everything except items considered unnecessary furniture has already disappeared, it suggests that the belongings have already been moved to a new residence, which is sad because you literally saw her moving her stuff into the house. So it's like the house doesn't need to go, but it very well might. And I think the house going could be the thing that like makes Kazuya realize. That could be like one thing that could like make Kazuya wake up. It could be one aspect of it. It's like this home that he spent this time in, this new sanctuary of his that matters so much, gets sold away, and because he left, he had no say in the matter. You know? This home that mattered to him so much, he no longer has a say in the matter. And suddenly his words where he was saying things like, my paradise with Mizuhara was going to end, or I have another treasure now. It's almost implying he was going to lose something. You thought he would lose his relationship with Chizuru. In fact, that's the fear it's supposed to evoke from you. In reality, maybe he was losing the home, which would be kind of a very interesting direction, considering the hero's journey literally has you leaving home and then returning home, which raises the question, is Chizuru the home? Because remember, what's the common phrase you often hear? A home is not a place, it is the people. So it'd be thematically fitting if the thing Kazuya returns to isn't that home, but Chizuru herself. The home was but an illusion. The house was but an illusion. Chizuru was his home. Chizuru was his sanctuary. So when he loses the home, he thinks he lost everything. But then later he starts realizing what he really wanted was Chizuru. Chizuru is his sanctuary. It doesn't matter where he is as long as he is with her. And I think that would be kind of interesting. But it could also be thematically interesting to get the home back because, it's Chizuru's childhood home. But that's a whole other discussion. I have various questions, like what happened to all those clothes there were a lot of, or whether you sorted through all of your grandparents' belongings too. Though there's no point in keeping them, and it's exciting to see if the convenient development will come where Chizuru moves near Kazuya. It would be interesting if Chizuru doesn't move near Kazuya this time. You know, because before they moved close to each other, and again, based on chapter 17, they could move right next to each other because what happens in the end of chapter 17? Right? Oh look. Oh look. So there is a possible precedent for them running into each other. I said they wouldn't last chapter. I'm like, it's too convenient. But it's not like there isn't a precedent for it. And there could be a good idea for this. I'll read what I wrote about that as a response to someone. But give me a sec. Next episode is Unmun. This might be mistaken for unpun in the English version, but unmun refers to a steamed bun filled with red bean paste. Isn't that literally what I wrote? Okay. Is it that Kazuya thinks Mommy's body looks like an unmun, or that Chizuru offers unmun to her grandparents' Buddhist altar? The altar might have been moved to the new place as well. Plot twist is both. That'd be kind of interesting. Or maybe after Kazuya rejected Mommy, when they go out of the car and head back together, they try to diffuse the awkward atmosphere by buying and eating unmun from a street vendor. It's a bit hard to predict. But remember, we said you can't buy it from a street vendor in summer because it's cold. So this is someone... Actually, what am I don't need to bother with any of this. Just go to my account. Wait, what? Sorry, the account looked a little weird for a sec. So he literally says here, it turns out the steamed buns aren't sold in June, excluding frozen ones. It's an increasingly mysterious phrase. Maybe it's a metaphorical expression after all. See? Okay, so let me pull up some YouTube comments. Some people commented on my YouTube and wanted me to say certain things. So let's get into that. Comments. No, where's the... Okay, there's this. Community. It's under community. Responded. Okay, so let's start with this one. So right here, Fair Out says, thanks for the stream. In 5.2, it's too convenient. I said it's too convenient that they move next to each other. He says, too convenient, like your rental girlfriend being your neighbor, you go to the same college, your grandparents being friends in the hospital at the same time. Well, remember, this whole thing that like Reiji does with this is that he's essentially doing it to both challenge the trope and make the characters question if it's fate or coincidence. So Reiji actually like does that on purpose to abuse the trope, where they have all of these commonalities, and yet they're still divided. These things aren't necessarily inherently immediately positive. Anyways, let me respond with what I wrote. Well, there's just no immediate basis for it. We don't know whether Chizuru is moving out yet. If anything, Minnie already kind of did that by moving near him. Remember, Minnie moved near Kazuya. Like, she literally tells him that. Now, it could theoretically work, but we don't have enough to work with. It also counters the hero's journey to some degree, which makes me wonder if this is intentional, as the home is meant to disappear, or if it's meant to return as the hero returns home. That's kind of why it felt too convenient, because the coincidence seems more used for Mommy now rather than Chizuru. Remember, what's happening with Kazuya and Mommy right now? He keeps running into her as if it's fate. He keeps running into Mommy as if it's fate, literally as if Mommy and Chizuru's roles have been reversed. Okay? But Granted, Reiji is also saying home is not a place, but the people. So Chizuru is the home he returns to, not the actual place. But that would make it interesting if Chizuru isn't close to him anymore and he chooses to go to her rather than receiving a convenient, easy way out. In contrast, Chizuru moving near him, on the other hand, could be interesting as now he can't run from her. His love is getting closer to his guilt and he can't escape. Again, it's hard to tell. Each direction is interesting in a different way. So Chizuru does move to him, whereas before it used to be something positive, now it becomes something very, very negative, right? Whereas before Chizuru was close to him and it was a positive thing, now Chizuru moving close to him now is like a very negative thing because his guilt is like right next to him. The love he felt is like right next to him. Yeah, but mommy copied Kazuya's schedule. No, but remember, before she copied his schedule, they ran into each other like multiple times by pure coincidence. So, for instance, when they ran into each other at the driving school, it was both their first time there. They had not been there. It was both their first time there. They're both third years, and they're both what was it? There was like one other commonality they shared. The whole point of these chapters, remember, the whole point of these chapters is commonalities. Kazuya and Mami share a commonality in the school bag. That's why it's called the girlfriend in the school bag. So there's literally like these like coincidences that appear like fate. That's what Kazuya had with Chizuru at the beginning of the series. Now he's having these things happen with Mami. So the story is essentially questioning is like, do you control fate or does fate control you? Now, someone else also, I guess we'll read this one first. So this person says, I wonder how much Mami actually realizes how much she hurt Kazuya, but during the past relationship and later when she tried to destroy the one between him and Chizuru. I don't think she fully understands the extent of this pain. I think she's seen some of it, but she doesn't fully grasp what she's done. As a mirror to Ruka, who also does not fully grasp it. But she kind of feels like she's done something wrong, but just has not like seen that. As a mirror to Ruka, who also has not seen this. Neither character fully grasps how much they've hurt this person, but they feel like they've done something wrong. And Mami knows she did something wrong. But maybe this is where I gotta read what I wrote a little bit. You often claim that Mami is already aware of it. She is. Like, deep down, she is. It's literally the same as Kazuya. It's like, deep down, they know. But that's deep down. Deep down, they know. Because you see that in how they respond and react to things. They have coping mechanisms. That's literally what it is. They literally have coping mechanisms to not confront this issue because their body can't handle it, right? So what your body does when you have like a traumatic thing happening is that when you're trying to suppress the traumatic thing, you do a few things that to cope with it, and one of it is forget. You intentionally forget and you kind of disassociate because what your body's doing is it has to choose between remembering or actually like or suppressing. When it suppresses, it chooses not to remember the thing. So what Mami does is that whenever these memories come back to haunt her, she makes it about her feelings. And so here, I've talked about this chapter a few times. Chapter 310. What does Mami do? Right? So she remembers Chizuru with Nagomi. She saw them together. And then she remembers what she said to Chizuru. Right? She asks, either way, it means she's still involved with him. If anything, it means she's gotten closer. And then she remembers this. It makes me sick. She told Chizuru, you make me sick. It's still, I'm not going to expose her or anything. I never planned to anyway. I don't have anything to gain from doing that if it has nothing to do with me anymore. She literally excuses her actions as a coping mechanism because deep down she knows what she did is wrong. However, it's specifically that she did wrong to Chizuru. Did you notice that? It's the same with Ruka. Rarely do you focus on what she did wrong to Kazuya. So she knows she did something wrong Chizuru, and she uses her denial of her of like her culpability as an escape from this. In contrast, I think subconsciously she knows she did something wrong to Kazuya, but she hasn't processed it. Why? Because most male figures in her life are either strong or positions of authority, or they haven't that people she hates. So when she looks at Kazuya, she literally just sees an object of love, an answer to her problem. He is her light. Not that this light could also be hurt, that you could damage this person. And when she sees Kazuya apologize to Kibe, she tries to do the same thing but can't do it. You see that mommy knows she did something wrong to Kazuya deep down, but instead of focusing on that, literally as a coping mechanism, she removes her culpability to Kazuya by focusing on her love. Whereas with Chizuru, the way she removes her culpability to the way she hurt Chizuru is by focusing on the fact that she wasn't going to do it. She deals with these things in literally the reverse ways. With Chizuru, it's denial. With Kazuya, she fixates on her love for him, so she doesn't have to focus on how she hurt him. Okay? So that's personally how I feel. At this point, what would it happen for mommy to start considering the consequences of her selfish choices? Does she need to lose every last bit of hope she still has of being with Kazuya? I think it's the opposite. She needs hope. Mommy won't ever truly consider the consequences of her actions unless she gets hope. She needs hope. Mommy needs to be able to believe in love and see what love really is to realize what she's done wrong. She needs to see what love truly is to recognize what she did wrong. She needs to be forgiven. That's what mommy needs. If mommy is forgiven for what she did, she might actually realize what she did wrong. Why? Because that's literally how the series started. Kazuya realized what he did wrong because he was forgiven. In being forgiven, in seeing what he did and then being forgiven for it. That's kind of, I think, what needs to happen. Mommy needs to see what she did, how she hurt people, and still be forgiven for it. And that's when she'll change. That's when she'll really see. So I think in the way she can see it is she sees how hurt he is, right? Or it catches up to her, kind of like how chapter 31 is like Kazuya's actions catching up to him. And he realizes, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it is. She needs to realize how wrong she is, right? She needs to realize how wrong she is about everything. And in realizing how wrong she is and being forgiven for that, then can mommy truly begin to change. Okay. This person copied something someone said on Reddit, and he wanted me to read it. Well, I've been thinking more and more in this path Miyajime-sensei might be building for Kazuya isn't a fall due to a lack of love, nor a betrayal, in the simple sense that a part of the fandom fears. What I see is something much heavier and more painful, a collapse due to psychological exhaustion. It wouldn't be Kazuya giving up on Chizuru because he stopped loving her. It would be Kazuya giving up on himself because he can no longer sustain the pressure of trying to be worthy of Chizuru. Okay, let's keep reading. And for me, this starts long before Chizuru. It starts with mommy. Okay. Kazuya was destroyed at the beginning of the manga precisely when he was at his most sincere, when mommy wasn't performing while they were dating. He talked about his dreams, about introducing her to his family, and about wanting a football team of kids, about how much he loved the idea of holding hands. He talked about life. In other words, he handed over the purest version of himself, and it was precisely that version that took the hit. Didn't Varicus write this? I could have sworn Varicus wrote this. This person told me Varicus did not write this. This sounds like something Varicus wrote. I could have sworn Varicus wrote this. Mommy didn't just break up with him. She broke up she broke him down further and further in public, in front of his friends. She said she felt harassed by him because of the miniskirt. She exposed their kiss. She exposed the fact that they held hands. Which, by the way, Mommy exposed these things to everyone, just as Kazuya is now telling everyone that Kazuya and Chizuru kissed, and they were carrying each other and stuff like that. She basically humiliated Kazuya at the exact moment he was being most genuine, which is what Kazuya is ironically doing to Chizuru right now. This is why I say Mommy didn't just break his heart, she destroyed the belief that being myself is enough. This, to me, is the character's founding trauma. From that point on, Kazuya never entered a relationship just being himself again. He began to believe that to avoid being discarded again, he needed to be more and do more and endure more. No. No, this is not correct. This is not correct. The whole foundation of the early narrative is that this is not what he needed to do. The early foundation of the narrative broke this idea. Kazuya began to do things because he cared, not because he wanted to do more. That was the whole point of the movie arc. He did it because he cared, not because he needed to do more. He wanted to make the person that he loved happy. That's it. It was just a genuine act of love. What's happening, what he's describing is what's happening now. Why did this happen now? Hawaiians, because of Mommy. Mommy opened the wound back up. So the thing that he healed, Mommy opened back up. That is what this person's talking about now. The problem I have with this is that it ignores a good, 200 chapters of this series. This just seemingly ignores a good 200 chapters of this series. It misses the point of chapter 31, which is literally Kazuya being accepted despite his mistakes. That he didn't need to do all these things to atone and change and become this other fucking person. He was cared and loved for who he was. That was the belief he built in Hawaiians. That was the whole point. That was the thing Kazuya was trying to reach in Hawaiians, and that is what broke. In Hawaiians, he genuinely wanted to believe that what he did was enough. That he was enough. That his love was enough. And then it shatters. People blame Chizuru for this. It was a lot of it was Mommy. Okay? And Kazuya doesn't realize Mommy is the one who did this. Yes, it does return to the beginning of the series. However, Mommy is not the inherent source of the problem. You think she is. You think she is. Mommy is not the inherent source of the problem. Mommy is merely the straw that broke the camel's back. This was always going to happen. This is the same thing I saw earlier. So earlier today, I saw this person say that the story would have been shorter had Kibe been there for Kazuya at the beginning of the series. Except that fundamentally misses a point. Kibe was never going to properly be there for Kazuya at the beginning of the series because of specifically who he is. The social conditioning that he has undergone would never let Kibe truly be there for Kazuya. And if you don't believe me, literally right after chapter 1, Kibe actively fuels Kazuya's horrible tendencies. As if to show you how he is both a good friend and a terrible friend. Because he doesn't understand Kazuya's feelings for Mommy. Kibe, the whole point of the story was that no one could truly be there for Kazuya except for Chizuru because she actually fucking saw him. Whereas other characters didn't. Okay, so let's continue. When Chizuru enters his life, so they get into it here. When Chizuru enters his life, this trauma meets the worst case scenario. What? Because she didn't appear to him as an ordinary woman, she appeared as an ideal, something beautiful, strong, competent, mature, and resilient. And Kazuya does not know what he always does with what he loves to... And Kazuya does what he always does with what he loves too much. He puts her on a pedestal. Except in Chizuru's case, the pedestal becomes a prison. Okay. The moment he transforms her into something almost divine, he automatically condemns himself to inferiority. Love stops being a band and becomes a project of ascension. But remember, that broke. Remember, that broke prior to Hawaiians. That was gone, and he knew that, and he kept telling himself that. And slowly but surely, she started becoming divine again. It's a prison for her, too. I hope they mention that. It's a prison for Chizuru, too. Okay. Okay, love stops being about a bond and becomes a project of ascension. He no longer asks what would make me happy by her side, or how can I live this normally. Instead, he asks, what do I need to become to deserve her? And Minnie actively reinforces that. This is where the performance is born. During the time they spent together, Kazuya and Chizuru supported each other. Within their flaws, the bond between them grew. It was a love on the rise, despite the lies. The love on the rise, despite the lies. It kind of rhymed. The insecurities and all the stumbles both supported and in a way understood each other. But all of that was shattered during the Paradise Act Brahmami. Okay, so they get into that. Cool. I feel like they didn't give that enough time to really get into it. I feel like they needed to kind of delve into that a little more. But I get it. They're focusing more on Mommy, but they needed to really hammer in how Kazuya really built this bond with Chizuru and how much it mattered to him and why the shatter was so destructive. Because they don't realize why this... Kazuya at the beginning of the series wasn't like this, and he was still in a place where he could recover. Now he's in a point where he can't recover because he's just too conditioned not to. Because it happened twice. In particular, because it happened with Chizuru. His belief in love was shattered specifically because he really fell in love with Chizuru and that was shattered. That's kind of my issue with the way this is being described. Is like, literally, to him, true love was shattered, so he lost all faith in love. That's kind of the issue. He literally lost all faith in love. Okay. The same girl who humiliated him at the start of the manga, now humiliates him, not only him, but also the person he loves, and as always, he blames himself for it. No, because Kazuya thought he was rejected. He doesn't project anything at Mommy, he thinks Chizuru rejected him. And that is what shattered his belief in love. Not realizing Chizuru never rejected him, and it was a whole part because of Mommy, and that he pressured her into that position. Just as his family, his friends, and everyone around him pressured him into a specific position. But after the humiliation comes something even worse for him, the reset. All the trust he had been built and all the intimacy they shared simply vanished after the Paradise arc. And then came the ghosting. This was the worst possible scenario for someone like Kazuya. If there was already a sense of devotion before, and then we entered the all or nothing mode. But again, he in part created the ghosting. Kazuya, in part, literally created the ghosting, and he doesn't realize this. So he has to realize, like, how he's been trapped by his own mentality. Kazuya isn't living a free love with Chizuru. He's living a performance of value, okay? He needs to be a guy who never fails, the guy who always supports, the guy who produces the movie, the guy who endures the silence, the guy who holds her pain, the guy who saves, the guy who waits. And this certainly brought him his growth in many moments. Actually, no, it's been actively destroying his growth. Whoops! Whoopsie! It's literally actually been destroying his character. But it also exacted an absurd price. No one can live forever trying to be an emotional Superman. Literally, the whole point of Superman's character is he's not perfect. So, improving yourself isn't bad. The problem is that Kazuya isn't improving for himself. He is molding himself through her. I find it fascinating that Minnie is not being addressed here at all because she's literally actively fueling this. He isn't building a life that makes sense to him. He is trying to pass an emotional entrance exam where the evaluator doesn't give a final grade. And that, to me, is the psychological cruelty of Chizuru's investigation. Okay, I'm seeing a problem here. This is immediately getting thrown at Chizuru. I'm already seeing a problem with this. Without realizing Kazuya in many ways... Okay, let's continue. For her, it may be the time for reflection. For him, it's an eternal exam. It's not waiting, it's a test. But does she know this? Chizuru actively goes out of her way to be like, Ayo, I'm not judging you. Ayo, I don't doubt you. I hope they address this. Because that is a huge part of this. That Chizuru is actively trying to clear the gate between them. Yes, the investigation is in part a mistake. Yes, but the thing is, neither of them know what to do to change. That's literally the problem with the investigation. She doesn't know how to change. She's literally saying, I don't know what to do. And he doesn't really get involved in the investigation. Kazuya never puts his foot in to help her realize that. Nobody ever addresses this. Nobody ever addresses that, hey, Kazuya is not actually trying to help her solve this thing she does not understand. And she's not trying to test him. But again, it tends to get thrown at Chizuru. Yes, it's a mistake, but she doesn't know what to do. We expect her to. He literally says it in chapter 240. She has no idea what to do. She's confused. Okay? Every mistake is more evidence that he doesn't deserve her. Every silence from her feels like a sentence. Except she doesn't try to. This is why chapter 414 is so important to me. The dream scene is one of the most crucial for explaining Kazuya's mental state right now. He doesn't dream of pleasure. He doesn't dream of Chizuru's body. He doesn't dream of consequences. He dreams of absolution. He dreams of her saying he doesn't care about what happened with Ruka and that she still loves him and everything is okay. In other words, what he wants most in the moment isn't romance. It's permission to continue existing without hating himself. AKA acceptance. He wants acceptance. That's what he wants. He wants forgiveness and acceptance. He wants her to make the weight of the world off his shoulders. He wants to hear it's okay to be human. He wants acceptance. That's what you're saying. He wants to be accepted and seen for who he is. Except she already does that. But he wakes up and finds the exact opposite. He finds guilt, self-loathing, pressure, and immediately after mommy, the physical concrete present reality. The rubber band is stretched to its limit, and that's when the memory of Chizuru's words, the ones about hating someone like herself, hits his psyche hard. Because the sentence becomes a mirror. He looks at himself and thinks the same thing. The guilt is no longer just in the circumstances, it has become his identity. The problem is no longer I made a mistake, but I am a mistake. Okay. This is why I don't see the current arc as an arc about betrayal. I see it as an arc about exhaustion. I agree about the not betrayal thing. But it is a betrayal thing. So this is what I don't agree with. It's self-betrayal. What do I mean by this? It's not that Kazuya is betraying Chizuru. No, he's betraying his own body. His body quite literally feels desire, and he's not listening to it. The point of this current narrative is that he is out of sync with who he is. He is literally, so we only got 10 more minutes, he's literally out of sync with who he is. So it's self-betrayal. But you're not betraying his love, he's using his love as a crutch. It's not about exhaustion. It's hitting a breaking point, absolutely. It's hitting a breaking point. But to me, this arc is not about exhaustion. This arc is about realization. It is about the realization that you are betraying yourself. That you are betraying who you are because you are denying an aspect of who you are. Okay? Ruka and Mommy in the reading are not the center of the problem, they are the triggers. In fact, they could actually theoretically be the solutions. The guilt over Ruka and the confusion with Mommy are just the final straw. The bucket has been full for a long time, full of years spent trying. Well, Mommy is kind of part of the problem, but he kind of needs to accept that she's part of the problem and still forgive her. So that doesn't fully add up. Mommy's literally a fucking abuser. Ruka's bro. He was sexually assaulted. Bro, she emotionally assaulted him. Ruka sexually assaulted him, and Mommy emotionally assaulted him. Yes, they are part of the problem, and they are part of the solution. They are both. They are part of the problem, but they are also a problem he created for himself. Cool. Full of years spent trying to be worthy, full of years trying to fit Chizuru's ideal. Okay, again, they're doing it. They keep saying Chizuru's ideal. Chizuru never had an ideal. Full of years without ever putting his head in the pillow and asking what is best for me. Kazuya always asked what's best for her, what he needed to do for her, how he could avoid getting in her way, how he could be enough for her. He almost never asked a real internal question. He almost never thought about what would be best for himself. And she literally says this to him. When I try to imagine the end of this arc, I don't see Kazuya changing his love or giving another girl out of pure desire. What really makes sense to me is the rapture through unworthiness. The moment he reaches the psychological limit and doesn't say, I stopped loving you, but rather, I can't take the pressure of trying to be a man you deserve anymore. So it would be the total collapse of the performance of perfection he built to be accepted. If he gets to date alive and says something like he deserves someone better, it wouldn't be a rejection. It would be the first time he's been honest with himself and what he's been feeling. He wouldn't be giving up on Chizuru, he would be giving up on Kazuya, who is worthy of Chizuru. And for me, that okay, whatever. Because then the true dynamic of the manga will change. Until then, Chizuru has always been a luxury of inertia, not out of malice, but out of unconscious comfort. No, it's Kazuya's comfort. It's literally the opposite. Unfortunately, again, they're doing this thing where they think Chizuru is just in this position of infinite comfort, which is just not really true. Both Kazuya and Chizuru have an element of comfort, but people don't seem to want to see Kazuya's comfort in this situation. Kazuya was always there. He was always the guaranteed one. No. Did we read chapter 414? Did we read chapter 414? She literally says, I fucking rejected him and he still wouldn't give up. And he keeps waiting and I don't know what to do. This is my Chizuru's reality check. There it is. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Every fucking time. This is my problem. They treat Kazuya like this character who is this... he's broken, he's so hurt, oh, he needs to be defended. There's this, like, really weird thing with modern society where men have to constantly be victims. And a lot of men don't seem to realize how they're victimizing themselves, right? I have this clip, it's fucking perfect. Let me pull it up. There's this clip I found from Dr. K. It's fucking perfect. I've never seen someone hit it on the head so fucking well. Okay, let me turn on the audio. Okay, please listen to this. Please listen to this.
Do you think that a lot of the attention on muscle building, on looks maxing, is actually just a safer discussion for young males? They can talk about trying to get body fat percentages, or they're doing like mewing for their jaw or something. I have a feeling there's a lot more going on.
The best way to run away from an unsolvable problem is to solve something else. Like, here's the thing about looks maxing. Getting somebody else to fall in love with me, like, that's so hard. I don't even know where to start. I don't even like myself. How am I supposed to get somebody else to fall in love with me? When I look in the mirror, I see disgust. I cannot fathom or tolerate the idea of going on a date and having this person look at this. So I'm going to transform myself. I'm going to solve all of those problems by solving one problem. I'm going to do a very interesting selection bias and cognitive bias, cognitive filtering, ignoring all of the beautiful people who are still single or divorced. And that's why, like, the more that they go into looks maxing, because there's this idea that if you're beautiful, right, and this is some really interesting theory of mind, when they look at the people that they're attracted to, in their mind, if someone's a 10 out of 10, I'd date them in a heartbeat. And if I date them, someone would date me. So I think this looks maxing thing is like a really great way of displacing all of our terrifying, overwhelming feelings of how do I get another human being to accept me?
I have never seen a man hit it so fucking hard on the head. That's literally Kazuya's issue. That's literally Kazuya's issue. That's it. That's literally the issue. That's why I disagree with this thing that's being thrown at Chizuru. This is Kazuya's problem. This is literally Kazuya's fucking problem. It is not Chizuru's issue. Okay? Now, Chizuru made a mistake in the investigation. To deny the fact that Kazuya is not involved in the fucking relationship is nonsense. He's literally not in it. And that is not Chizuru's fault. She's putting in the fucking effort. It's Chizuru making some mistakes right now? Abso-fucking-lutely. Her actions in some ways letting mommy get close to him. Her lack of presence, her lack of presence with Kazuya's life, the investigation. Yes, these were mistakes that Kazuya did not help correct because she doesn't know what to do. Literally what I described. Kazuya put her on a pedestal. It's like she is light with no shadow. As if she's not allowed to hit that shadow. How did you find this video? It's so damn accurate. I follow Dr. K. You should give Dr. K a watch. He's great. His channel is Healthy Gamer GG. Healthy Gamer GG. Just look at that. He's literally a psychiatrist. He's literally a licensed psychiatrist. He hit the nail on the fucking head. No, it is not Chizuru's fault, okay? This is a Kazuya-based issue. This is Kazuya trying to solve all of his problems by solving one. What does Kazuya regularly say? No one can hate Chizuru. She's so perfect. I would date her in a heartbeat. So naturally, I have to become beautiful so she would date me in a heartbeat. What did you see in chapter 393? What does he try to do? What does he fucking try to do? He tries to be desired physically, he tries to be desired monetarily, and he tries to be desired emotionally. How does he go about achieving this? He tries to be desired physically by getting ripped. He tries to be desired monetarily by getting a good job. He tries to be desired emotionally by having a perfect confession. All to distract from the fact that he feels desire. And he thinks he's not allowed to feel this way. No. Look, you cannot toss the blame on Chizuru. You have to accept at some point it is you. You are victimizing yourself. And in so doing, you are truly becoming a victim. That is literally what happened to Kazuya. He victimized himself, and in so doing, he truly became Ruka's victim, and in turn, he made Ruka an abuser. Okay? Ruka still took those actions herself. Kazuya still led to this position because of his own negligence. His own negligence resulted in this situation. Reiji straight up said this. Right? He was literally worried about the complex nuance of this discussion because he knew people would not understand. And he literally said, eventually, I will spell it the fuck out. Eventually, I will explain this and spell it the fuck out for you guys. Okay? Because people do not get it. And I think it's crazy that, like, I keep reading shit like this where people want to blame Chizuru. It's not purely on her. You have to recognize there is an aspect that you are doing to yourself. Is Chizuru making a mistake right now and not talking to Kazuya? Fucking absolutely. Was Chizuru's investigation partially a mistake? Fucking absolutely. Is Chizuru not being clear with Kazuya a fucking mistake? Abso-fucking-lutely. However, you have to recognize the part you are playing in that mistake. That is what Reiji is writing. The fact that Kazuya does not recognize the part he is playing in those things happening. Yes, Chizuru is making a mistake. You're not helping her solve it. You're just making it worse. So you have to recognize why these things are happening. You have to recognize the part you play in the events that you are causing. And this applies to every character. Minnie does not recognize the part that she plays in Kazuya's relationship never fucking working out with Chizuru. Ruka does not realize the part that she is playing in saying to herself, I don't want to, I don't want to give up on you. I want to be with you even if I'm second, not realizing how she's literally physically hurting Kazuya, but telling herself she's not hurting his relationship with Chizuru when now she's riddled him with guilt. She doesn't recognize the part that she plays. Kazuya does not recognize the part that he plays with Ruka, where in his negligence of Ruka and letting her touch him and bringing her to her home, and to his home, in his negligence of these things, he has ultimately resulted in him becoming a victim. He treats himself like a victim, and he eventually becomes a victim. In his negligence with Mommy and not willing to address and look at Mommy honestly because he's literally burying his emotions deep down, he does not realize how in many ways he is fueling this dynamic with Mommy, rather than talking about the real issues that are going on. And in turn, that plays directly into his lust that he feels guilt for that he's not addressing. These things continue to pile on until eventually, yes, Kazuya will hit a breaking point. Not because of exhaustion, but because of his own choices. And when he hits that breaking point, what to me is Reiji is trying to do is have this moment of shatter. This emotional shatter where your brain just fucking crashes because everything you have understood about who you are is incorrect. And there is no better scene that exemplifies this than with Grace Ashcroft in Resident Evil Requiem. Slight spoilers for Resident Evil Requiem if you have not played it. This scene perfectly captures this fucking issue. Grace, I did this. Oh no, it's my fault.
Be a man.
Okay, cutscenes maybe. Just cutscenes. Yeah, I'll we'll call it after this. I won't finish reading this until tomorrow. Just remind me to continue reading it tomorrow. Okay. It's right here. Yeah, I said I would stop, so we'll stop right here. So her entire world is literally about to shatter, and look what happens to her.
They weren't able to recreate Spencer's key. But now we have the original. We have you. You can unlock Elvis at Ark.
Don't worry about any of this
That's
shit.
where we go.
So, what, I was made?
Correct.
So it really was all my fault.
What was?
That Mom was murdered and she turned into that thing.
What's done is done. You need to focus on the future.
She even really my mother.
It's time to embrace her destiny.
Okay, so what happened in this scene? What happened in this scene? Her mind literally can't process everything that she just experienced. She is crashing the fuck out. Her mind cannot keep up. It is too much. So when Leon shows up, Leon is a place of safety. So she literally associates him with her mom. She says mom and then passes out. Her brain just shuts down. She can't process everything she just experienced. So she literally reaches for a place of safety. Literally, when you think of your mom, it's safety. That's why when she sees Leon, she says mom, not because he's mommy, but because literally her mind can't process anymore. She's crashing the fuck out. Everything she understood about herself is completely wrong. Everything she feared about herself, she now thinks might be correct, when it isn't. And this is like that truth awakening moment that I think Kazuya is probably going to have. He's going to realize like how much was actually his fucking fault. That is, I think, what Reiji's building to. How much was actually Kazuya's own fucking fault? That he did this and he's gonna crash. He's going to freak the fuck out when he realizes how much of it was actually his goddamn fault. Because a lot of it is. So much of it is. Because he didn't help solve any of his own problems. He was so busy being trapped in his problems, he never saw Chizuru's. And that is what Reiji shows, and that's what I've been saying Reiji's been doing, is that he's making Kazuya feel as Chizuru felt. I'm going to read what Bacon wrote, and then I'm going to call it. Okay? We'll continue tomorrow. Let's see. Read this carefully. There's a part of me that thinks prior to movie Kazuya, he didn't really grow, at least not for himself, but through other people. Would Kazuya now and then do what he did for himself? Not likely. Yeah, even the movie arc, he wasn't really growing fully for himself, but a part of it came from himself. But it wasn't for himself. You know? It wasn't. What do I mean? The movie arc started because of Kazuya's guilt about the whole Ruka thing, where he felt guilty about Ruka. So what does he do? He does something, he helps someone because he couldn't help himself. And in so doing, he helps himself because he feels useful to someone else. That in itself is part of the problem. That this is inherently a part of Kazuya, how amazing he is. But he doesn't associate it with his own quality as a person because Kazuya weighs himself on his love. If his love is not there, he doesn't matter. Anyways. Let's see. Kazuya's selflessness is his biggest crutch, and it's being exploited by other people, particularly Mami and Ruka. It was being exploited by Mami, less so now. Ruka did exploit it, but not intentionally. It's the fact that he needs to come to the realization that his selflessness is pointless. It's not helping anybody. He needs to start being selfish in order to truly help people. Because he can't help himself or anyone else if he's just selfless. If you don't care for yourself, how can you care for other people? Kazuya also has a low intuition, most evidently via Mini. No, he actually has amazing intuition. But he tricks himself into it. That's Kazuya's entire problem. He tricks himself into thinking he doesn't have any intuition. Outside of a relationship, Kazuya's list would be more meaningful, but because Chizuru is his reward for this, his growth will always be shallow and unfulfilling. He needs to do these things for himself, and if Chizuru appreciates his growth, it's a bonus, but that should not be the goal, and you can't truly grow on your own. You need people to tell you when you put your eggs in the wrong basket. Kind of, but people help you grow, you know? Like, they make up for the part you don't understand. I think that's what you were trying to convey. Let's see. Weird thing to point out. A lot of the things we're discussing are the same things haters, critics point about it in the past and now seem to be the forefront of this arc. You think Reiji planned this? I just had thought anyone would else feel the same. Oh, yes, absolutely. Reiji is planning this around the readers. Remember what I said about the rejection? It's literally built on people's bias and projection about Chizuru. Mini is literally the echo of the readers, and she's literally saying the same shit the haters and the critics say. Verbatim. You're stalling. Nothing is happening. I give up on you guys. Chizuru is using you. Chizuru isn't serious about you. Right? Chizuru is being sneaky. She's not being honest. And then 2 seconds later, she's like seemingly getting all smitten with Chizuru. She's like, oh, she's so hot. She's such a great waifu. Oh, I fucking love her. And then 2 seconds later, she's like, oh, well, Kazuya is a dream and he's amazing, but she's not being honest about what she's feeling towards him. So yes, Reiji is absolutely writing this to like fucking kneecap the haters and the critics because they're idiots. And he's like, he literally, his whole thing that he says regularly is know who to listen to and know who to not listen to. And people will always say things, and I'm so glad I didn't listen. Literally, he says that a lot, so much in his Twitter spaces where he's like, I'm so glad I didn't listen to certain people. Because they always tell me to do certain things, but then they're fucking idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. And I'm so glad I didn't listen because now I am where I am. And I have faith in my own, what I'm writing. Thinking about it, Chizuru would have dinner with Kazuya and they would make love right after the taxi kiss. So as soon as he didn't let the taxi leave with him right away. Yeah, there's a possibility. If Kazuya had come back and they like actually hung out, yeah, it was possible. It could have fucking happened. But Kazuya chose to run away. She literally put her full effort in and it didn't matter. She literally put her full effort in for him and it didn't matter. Okay, we're going to stop here. I said I would stop. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll have a longer stream tomorrow. I'll do more. I'm going to go hang out with my mom, eat some food, and then go to bed. Take care, fellas. Take care of yourself. Drink some water. Take care of yourself. Sleep well. I want to sleep well. You should sleep well. Take care of yourself. Don't treat yourself like shit like I do because you will feel like crap and you won't want to stream until like 6 in the fucking afternoon. Anyways, see you guys later. Take care. Maybe Saturday or Sunday I'll stream Resident Evil. We'll see. We finished Kingdom Hearts recently. We'll probably get into Resident Evil 1 soon. Okay, that's it. Have a good night. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I will try to write on Twitter